So today I have a nice double feature for you. That's right, two reviews for the price of one. And no, one of the games is not Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door. That game is incredibly long. I'm not saying like long compared to other RPGs I'm playing, but when it comes to Mario games, like Mario RPG, I beat in like 2 days, I think. Mario Wonder was also like 2 days. So I figured, I'm not gonna push it too much with Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door. The game, I think, is seriously like 40 hours long. Much longer than I thought. But I am getting it done. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Paper Mario. We are here to talk about two different games that are in that budget-friendly price range. And if I'm honest, I think this first game, Downward, maybe shouldn't be. And not only because it's the enhanced edition, which is very important because we all like things enhanced, right? But also this game did come out in 2016 and it was actually received quite well. All they've done is make things better with it. The game looks really good. Now, Downward is a first-person parkour type game. Think of like Neon White, Mirror's Edge, that kind of thing. There isn't really the encouragement to be really fast though. It's more about exploration. In fact, Adam Miller at DeleteInstitute.net wrote an article about it, and as he said, this game just exudes exploration, and I think that sums this game up really well. In fact, I'll link his review in the description below. But if you still want some of those speed trials and things like that, there are different modes in the game that you can choose from. Like, actually in the game, there's different trials and stuff. So those things are there. Now, as for story, this game is pretty sparse when it comes to story. There's two relatively negative things about the game, and this is one of them. There's really no story. I mean, there is. The world ended. This is post-apocalyptic. There are a few humans that are above ground, and you're kind of trying to find what happened. You're looking through artifacts, and as far as like dialogue and storytelling, the game doesn't do a great job, although most of the information can be acquired from the environment itself and just kind of reading up on the artifacts that you find, and things of that nature sort of push the story forward. But it really isn't a very satisfying story. And the other aspect of this game that is a pretty big negative for me anyway is the combat. There is combat actually, and it stinks. As you're exploring this post-apocalyptic world, you will run into these golems. They're large individuals with these glowing rocks on their back. They will swing at you, and once they've exhausted their energy, these glowing rocks or gems or whatever turn green. That's when you can grab them. You have to hit the interact button, which is R1. And as you do that, they fall apart. You essentially just bait them constantly and then get behind them and pull it. That's not a very difficult type of combat. In fact, it's really simple, but it's just kind of tedious. It's not very satisfying. It's like, I don't really find any joy in this. At no point did I ever feel like, oh, there's too much going on here. And in fact, there's not a lot of them, so I would rather them just not be in the game. Now, they do actually offer a key, so to speak, as there are these barriers that kind of block you off from going down certain paths, but you will need to find the artifacts that these golems have on them to be able to remove those barriers. Again, it's not a lot, it's far and few between, but that's their whole purpose for being there, and it just doesn't even feel like they need to. No, the great thing about this game, though, is the parkour. The parkour is really fun, it's very fluid, it's fast, responsive. It has all these elements that will help your confidence as you're standing up against these gigantic mountains and things you're going to have to scale. And while it's not a walk in the park, it's also not the most ridiculously difficult thing to do. In fact, never did I become frustrated with it. And with platformers in general, I often get like really frustrated with them. It's just, I don't know, it drives me insane when I miss a jump or something. Usually because there's quite a big penalty and you have to redo a bunch of the areas. And unfortunately with this game, it's kind of the same way. If you fall from a really high distance and you manage to live, you'd probably rather just die because you're gonna have to climb back up again. Now, rarely has this ever happened to me where I lost like more than a couple minutes, but there was once when I somehow fell from a very high area and didn't die. But luckily, there is a fast travel in this game. Now, I didn't think about that at the time, and yeah, that's on me. Now, the cool thing is, there's actually other skills you can get. Now, most of those come from defeating those golems I was talking about. At least that's how I remember getting most of them. And then there's actually upgrading your character. It's these little white orbs that are spread around the whole environment. You collect them and you trade them in for things like small bonuses to your health. If I'm honest, I never noticed the upgrades actually doing very much. They're very minor. Although the skills, on the other hand, they change the game and allow you access to areas that you wouldn't be able to get to. Now, my only real big concern about this game, honestly, is performance. So it's not bad. I want to be clear, it's not bad, and it never ruined anything for me. There was definitely some times when it sort of lagged or tripped up and it got a little, what's the word, lag? And I was always waiting for it to happen at a point when I was doing my parkour thing or anything like that. But usually it just happened when you get into a new area, or if the game is trying to introduce something to you, it'll do it then as well. I never had it actually affect gameplay, that's what I'm aware of anyway, but it was something that was constantly in the back of my mind, wondering when it would happen. Like, when is the performance going to get real bad? And it's not just when I go into a new area or something of that nature. But it never really did happen. It's a relatively short game, but honestly, for $10, the way this game looks just in quality and how much fun the exploration is and the parkour is, I think it's definitely worth it. And honestly, I would give it a solid 7.5 out of 10. And I owe a big thank you to Adam. Without him, I never would have checked out the game or reviewed it. He messaged me and he was like, hey, you should check this out. It's actually pretty fun, especially being on that budget price range. So yeah, do me a favor and click that link in the description and check out his article. I think that would mean a lot to him as well. Now, the last game I want to talk about is a game that came out in 1994, but you've never played it most likely. It is a game called Rider's Spirit. It is a kart racer that has been locked over in Japan for almost 3 decades. Actually, oh my god, 3 decades. Man, now that makes you feel old. 94 was 30 years ago? That's crazy. Anyway, this game, though, has finally released here and everywhere worldwide on the Nintendo Switch, thanks to the publisher who also hooked me up with the review for this game. Now, most of this game, I think they did a good job localizing, except for you can't really read anything. There is a manual, which it's fun to look at the artwork. It's fun to look at the manual and see what everything looks like, and they stay true to form. The problem is there is no English localization, so when it comes to things like controls or even story or anything like that, there's just nothing there. You can't read it. And the only problem is with that is it does get a little bit complicated when you're trying to figure out what controls do what. Now, each character that you can choose does have their own unique set of skills that you can kind of utilize to race better, and those are presented in a manner in which you can make sense of, unlike the controls. But for the most part, the game feels a lot like Mario Kart. I hate to say it, but the old school retro 1993 Mario Kart. Now, the only reason I know this, honestly, is because my son is in that retro phase when it comes to any normal type game. He wants to play Mario Party? Oh, he wants to play Mario Party 2. We're gonna rock some Mario Kart? No, not Mario Kart 8 with all of the awesome extra tracks and even new characters that we actually pay for. No. We're gonna go back and play the first one on the SNES. And the thing I never realized about that game is it's incredibly hard to stay on the track. I will say, with Rider's Spirit, these are all motorcycles, and so you stay on the track a lot better. And that definitely matters. Now, there's also a lot of different tracks to play with, and some different game modes. Now, for the most part, I played this game just against a computer in a tournament-style game, but I did end up getting a chance to play it locally with my son and my daughter, which was a nightmare, but it performed really well. It was fun. It was a throwback. Now, I will say this. For me personally, I didn't like the background. The background, though, is the same thing in Mario Kart, where it kind of flashes. It's distracting. And I never noticed that until I actually started playing the Mario Kart with my son. And it, of course, does the same thing in this game. And for me, it bugs me, and honestly, it kind of messes with my eyes. Something that I think could end up giving me a headache if I played it for a long time. But on the other hand, my son didn't even notice it. Everything looked great to him. He really enjoyed the aesthetic. And I agree completely up until it comes into that background scene. But as far as the different racers and the pixel graphics, they look really good. Could be a little bit sharper, but I get it. This is a game from 30 years ago being localized to, the globe. But ultimately, the thing that I was really looking forward to with this game is just fun. And it has that in spades. There's a ton of fun to be had with this one. And when you figure in the $5.99 price tag for a retro kart racer, it's a good deal, and it's definitely worth it. This game, I would give a strong 7 out of 10. Thank you guys so much for checking out the channel. Let me know what you think about any of these games, or if there's a game you're looking forward to, or whatever it might be. Anything and everything in that comment section below. Please, please like and subscribe if you haven't. I truly appreciate when you guys do that. It helps channel grow, and it motivates me to get back on Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door. I'm just kidding. It's a fun game. But anyway, I appreciate each and every one of you guys. I love y'all. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.